The University of South Carolina women's basketball team is national champions, and we have the opportunity to reflect on what it was like to tell the story of this perfect season from the Gamecocks. Jhalen Wingate is the creative media producer for women's basketball at the University of South Carolina Athletics. I'm sure he hasn't had decent sleep in a while, but he's having a lot of fun in the process. Jhalen, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations to you and everyone at the university. Really appreciate you taking some time for us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So before we get into, kind of the job portion of this whole conversation, just, I mean, what's the last like couple of weeks been like for you? I mean, you went to University of South Carolina as a student, you worked there, you've been with this team along the whole ride. I mean, what were the emotions like?
Man, when we won, like and it was all said and done, coach is over here crying. And
Hmm.
for the most part, I'm holding it together pretty well. I'm holding
Yeah.
it together. But then like she gets on her interview and then like Aaliyah comes and she's crying with coach. It sent me over the top because at that point I was like, all right, I can't handle it no more. I just can't. I can't control it. I'm over here crying. I had to walk away for a second just because like that moment just by itself is huge. Like to have one coach have this undefeated season,
Hmm.
then have Aaliyah come back and be in that moment with her, and knowing that she lost in the Final Four last year to the same team we just beat, it was so special, so special.
So cool. I mean, amazing performances on the court, but your creative group led by you did some really, really cool stuff, not just during Final Four weekend, but throughout the entirety of the season. So I'm excited to reflect with you on some of it. But let's focus specifically on that moment. While you're trying to fight back the tears and keep your composure, what's that like, and what does your job entail when the buzzer sounds? Your team just won a championship. In your head, what are you thinking? All right, this is what I got to do now.
So at that point, it's just full go. Like you gotta,
Mhm.
like I'm in the little shooting area, shooting box on the floor. I sprint to the floor to get to the players as soon as the game is over with to get their reactions. And it's just you're doing your best to capture their reactions amongst the chaos, like
Mhm.
because everybody is also in that moment trying to get their reactions. So you're trying to beat them to get one position yourself in the best position to get those reactions in to also keep going, like it's so much happening all at that one point in time where it's, you don't really know what you're gonna get, but you're gonna try your best in that moment because how many times you get to win a national championship?
Right, right. So, uh, I want to ask you a little bit more about like the content plan and the operations and the people that you work with. But obviously, you're not alone in that moment. You've got some other people shooting with you. So, can you kind of walk the audience through like what the plan was? Like, did each shooter have designated like, all right, you get coach, I'm going to try to find these players, or is it really just go out there and get whatever you can get? Who else was with you in that moment, and what was
Mhm.
kind of the game plan going in, where it's like, hey, if we win, you're responsible for X, Y, Z.
So at that point in time, for the national championship game, it was me. We hired a photographer. His name is Tim Cowie. He is a phenomenal photographer. We had Eichel Davis, and we had our social person. Her name is Maddie Kyler.
Mhm.
So Maddie was getting, she was sitting behind the bench, so she got some stuff on video of the moment happening. I was on the court, and I was, like I said, as soon as the game was over with, I sprinted to try to get the players' reaction. Tim was also beside me, so he was also doing his best to get as much content as he could. And Eichel was sitting up top in the stands, so he came down and he kind of came out as the players rushed the field or rushed the court, not the field.
Mhm.
So it's just at that after everybody's on the court, it was get what you can get in that moment because you never know what you might come across, and we just went and had a ball with it.
Sure, yeah, man. Yeah, I wanted to kind of ask you, you know, how much content you guys produced over the course of the weekend. I could only imagine how much it was. But maybe I want to phrase it a different way. When you guys are producing content for social media platforms, digital, you're trying to, consume everything you can with your lens for the archives, for somewhere
Yeah.
down the road. But how do you either for yourself or messaging for your team, like you're producing content. The internet is an infinite void. You guys could have posted content until you passed out, and people would probably still continue to watch it.
Yeah.
How did you guys determine, like, all right, if we do these things, we can feel good about the job that we did?
So is this during the Final Four? It's a marathon, right?
Hmm.
You have you have your certain things that you have to do. So like there was one day where we had like a media day, we had practice, and then we went and had dinner. And then after that, we went out and did like, I think, what else did we do that day? But regardless of the point,
Sure, it's all a blur at this point, right?
there's so many different things that you have to do on these certain days. So like you have to figure out if we can get like three solid pieces of content out during that day, then we did a really good job. This is the way we were all looking at it. So, we had the media day. So we
Mhm.
did like our thing is we do like a little tea time with Tessa. It's like an easy player driven piece of content that we do. It's done pretty well. The players get to show their personalities and we run with that. So we hit a tea time with Tessa to start the day. We'll do some practice photos, and then after that, depending on what else we had, I think we ended up having a like a welcome party or a welcome dinner. So we got a couple photos and some like these photos of the girls having fun with each other and just spending time with each other, and that was it. That was that if we could hit those things and make it so that way you felt like as a viewer, you felt like you were there with us during the Final Four, then we're good.
So I know you're probably still making stuff. You guys are going to have a parade this weekend. This is far from a completed job. But when you look back on, the postseason run, let's say, is there a piece of content or two that you're particularly proud of that you guys were, you're like, man, we really got it with that, or it really caught fire online? When you look back now, again, like I said, you're not done. But do you have a favorite piece of content from what you guys have done so far?
I have two. I have two favorite pieces that we've done. So our SID is a phenomenal writer. So she wrote two voiceovers for me. Well, she wrote really like three or four voiceovers for the season, but for this tournament run, we had one where we had the beginning of the tournament where we had Coach voice it, and I think that one was just like in the moment. I don't think we were all like seeing the vision with it because I don't think we all really liked the script. But
Mhm.
after we heard Coach like read it and how she got into it, it was perfect. It was phenomenal. So like I think that one is one of my favorite videos that we put out. And then the other one would probably be the one for the Final Four. So we had our freshman class like with the Leah Boston. We call them the freshies. So like that
Mhm.
whole freshman class that lost in the Final Four to Iowa this past year come back and do a voiceover for the Final Four this year. And I think that, I think it hit everybody at home that's been a fan of the program. Like it just hit. It just hit hard.
Sure. There's a lot of fun personalities on this team. I'm not gonna say it makes your job easy, but how helpful is that when you know you've got, a group that, as someone who's just watching from home, seems like a really likable bunch.
Yeah, man, this group of girls is coach. I hate to say it, but coach described them as a daycare, and they are legitimately a bunch of kids running around like they're in daycare.
Yeah.
They like to have fun. They like to have fun with each other. They are so funny, so funny. Good group of kids for real. And like if you put a camera around them, and especially like I said, the tea time with Tess is like
Mhm.
they had a great time. Like they are going to do their thing and they're gonna just do them.
Sure. And obviously, wanted to ask you about Coach as well. I mean, Dawn Staley, it's been well publicized how good she is with the media and how open she can be. But for you all being, a part of the program, being able to get that kind of access, how did you lean into that as kind of a thing? Not, you're probably getting access that literally no other media outlet can get. So what opportunities did you feel like that presented you?
I mean, really, the media opportunities that it presented me was like, if like I said,
Mhm.
Tess is probably the best example I have. Like, if I could get her to interact with her players and just be authentically true, like, because she's always gonna be authentically true, but like to show the relationship between her and her players,
Mhm.
if I could show that, oh my goodness, like I think I could do it was gonna do well. Like, because coach, like you see how coach is on game days, you see how she is like in pressers, but like to see how she is with her team and her
Mhm.
girls, I was like, if I can hit on that, then I think we're doing fine.
Sure. Was there creatively, and this could be just the weekend, the whole postseason, the entire season, since we're talking about a perfect season here. Was there any kind of theme that you're trying to establish, or a mood, or a feel, or can you not do that in a situation like this because you got to be able to respond? I'm not sure what your creative strategy was in that regard.
So this year our theme was love. Like
Okay.
we love the team, we love the fans, we love the work, we love the grind, the passion, the pain, the wins, the losses. Like it didn't matter what it was, we love it all. So, if I could just do anything to show how we love each other as a team and how, the small things that we do equate to how bought in this team is with each other and how they literally go out there and they play for each other, then it kind of the story writes itself for me. Even like in our voiceover scripts, like for the Final Four, like the last line of all of our scripts is always nothing beats love. Because at this point in time, like, we're running and we're doing these things, but I think the reason that we did these things for us is because we loved each other. So it was really cool to see how the team just kind of loved up on each other and
Mhm.
went about this whole season. Because, you would have thought it would happen last year, but
Mhm.
the team that we had this year just they figured it out.
Yeah, very cool. Hard transition into maybe some of the X's and O's. Can you walk us through maybe some of the gear that helped you get your job done? Anything in particular? Like, would you pack in your case on the trip to Cleveland?
So we have like some DJI like live road mics that we
Mhm.
that we use. We're a Canyon school, so we pack C70s, two C70s, and R5. I shoot my game action on a 24 to 105. Just because when the post players is in the paint, you gotta be able to zoom out a little bit. Um, we had a wide lens, so we had a 24 for those wide shots that we needed to get on the court. I had an 18-35, a Sigma lens, shoot 1.8. I love it for pregame and I love it for like when they cut the lights off in arenas, just because it's a 1.8 and it's still a wide lens. So that's just a little bit of the packing that we had.
Cool. I'm wondering, kind of curious, the team has been to back-to-back Final Fours now, and you never want to be in that game where you're jinxing it, but you go into this postseason thinking that a run back there is very possible. The team's undefeated. You're probably preparing for it in a different way than, a 16 seed might be.
Mhm.
But what would your advice be for a creative lead like yourself or a creative team? And maybe this time next year, they find themselves there for the first time and they've never been there before. If someone came to you and was like, man, I'm in over my head, I don't know what to do. What would your advice be to someone who's maybe in this spot for the first time with their team?
Good question. I think I would tell somebody that hadn't been in that position before is like, well, one, you yourself, you have to enjoy it.
Mhm.
You have to figure out a way to enjoy it. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be a marathon. So, learn how to pace yourself because at that point in time, you can only do what you can do. Um, I think I'd also say is, expect the unexpected because you never know who you might see. You never know who might come out and show support. Like I kid you not, there was one time we were at practice and Asia Wilson and Chelsea Gray pulled up at practice unexpectedly. So, expect the unexpected. I didn't know she was pulling up into practice until we got there. Had my lens and I was like, I'm gonna just shoot wide and then go out here and go find them and wait until they get here. And then once they walk in, I'm gonna walk in with them and we'll go from there. But you just gotta kind of be able to what's it called? Shooting gun, running
Yeah,
gun.
there you go.
Yeah. So
Well, Well, Jhalen, again, we really appreciate the time that you've taken for us, and maybe it's one of the busiest weeks in your career. So, thanks a lot for the time. You said the theme was love, all the love to the team that you put together, and all the work and the content that you guys churned out. I'm sure it meant a lot to the student athletes, the alumni, the fans of this program. Congratulations to you and everyone there on the work you did, the championship, and yeah, have fun at the parade this weekend.
I appreciate that so much. Appreciate that.